rules of material nature. Unless one understands these bare facts, it is not possible to achieve peace in the world either individually or collectively. This is the sense of Krishna consciousness. Lord Krishna is the supreme predominator, and all living entities, including the great demigods, are his subordinates. One can attain perfect peace only in complete Krishna consciousness. This fifth chapter is a practical explanation of Krishna consciousness, generally known as Karma Yoga. The question of mental speculation as to how Karma Yoga can give liberation is answered herewith. To work in Krishna consciousness is to work with the complete knowledge of the Lord as the predominator. Such work is not different from transcendental knowledge. Direct Krishna consciousness is Bhakti Yoga, and Jnana Yoga is a path leading to Bhakti Yoga. Krishna consciousness means to work in full knowledge of one's relationship with the Supreme Absolute. And the perfection of this consciousness is full knowledge of Krishna, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A pure soul is the eternal servant of Krishna as his fragmental part and parcel. He comes into contact with Maya, illusion, due to the desire to lord it over Maya. And that is the cause of his many sufferings. As long as he is in contact with matter, he has to execute work in terms of material necessities. Krishna consciousness, however, brings one into spiritual life even while one is within the jurisdiction of matter. For it is an arousing of spiritual existence we practice in the material world. The more one is advanced, the more he is freed from the clutches of matter. The Lord is not partial towards anyone. Everything depends on one's practical performance of duties in an effort to control the senses and conquer the influence of desire and anger. And attaining Krishna consciousness by controlling the above mentioned passions, one remains factually in the transcendental stage or Brahma Nirvana. The eightfold yoga mysticism is automatically practiced in Krishna consciousness because the ultimate purpose is served. There is gradual process of elevation in the practice of yoga, yama, niyama, asana, pratyahara, dhyana, dharana, pranayam, and samadhi. But these only preface perfection by devotional service, which alone can award peace to human beings. It is the highest perfection of life. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the fifth chapter of Srimad Bhagavad-Gita in the matter of Karma Yoga, action in Krishna consciousness. Next chapter, Mataji. Chapter 6, first verse, text 1. Bhagavanu Vacha. Anashrita karma phalam karyam karma karoti yaha sa sannyasi cha yogi cha na niragnir na chakriyah. Translation by His Divine Grace says Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. The Blessed Lord said, one who is unattached to the fruits of his work and who works as he is obligated is in the renounced order of life, and he is the true mystic. Not he who lights no fire and performs no work. Text 2. Yam sannyasam iti prahur yogam tam vidhi pandava nahi asanyastha sankalpo yogi bhavati kaschana. Translation by His Divine Grace is Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. What is called renunciation is the same as yoga, or linking oneself with the Supreme. For no one can become a yogi unless he renounces the desire for sense gratification. Text 3. Arurukshor muner yogam karma karana muchyate yoga ruddhasya tasyaiva samaha karana muchyate. Translation by His Divine Grace is Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. For one who is a neophyte in the Eightfold Yoga system, work is said to be the means. And for one who has already attained to yoga, cessation of all material activities is said to be the means. Text 4. Yadahi nidreyartheshu na karmasav anusajjate sarva sankalpa sannyasi yoga rudas tadochyate. Translation by His Divine Grace is Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. A person is said to have attained to yoga when, having renounced all material desire, he neither acts for sense gratification or engages in fruitive activities. Text 5. Uddhared atmatmanam natmanam avasadayet atmaiva hi atmano bandhur atmaiva ripur atmanah. Translation by His Divine Grace is Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. A man must elevate himself by his own mind, not degrade himself. The mind is the friend of the conditioned soul and his enemy as well. X6. Bandhur atmatmas manas tasya yanatmaivatmana jitah anatmanastu shatrutve vartetatmaiva shatrutvat. Translation by His Divine Grace is Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. For him who has conquered the mind is the best of friends. But for one who has failed to do so, his very mind will be the greatest enemy. Text 7. Jitatmanah prashantasya prashantatma samahitah jitoshna sukha dukkeshu tata manapamanayoh. Translation by His Divine Grace is Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. For one who has conquered the mind, the supersoul is already reached, for he has attained tranquility. To such a man, happiness and distress, heat and cold, honor and dishonor are all the same. Text 8. Jnana Vijnana Traptatma Kurtasto Vijitendriyah Yata iti Uchate Yogi Sama Loštramshma Kanchanaha. Translation by His Divine Grace is Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. A person is said to be established in self-realization and is called a yogi or mystic, who, when he is fully satisfied by virtue of acquired knowledge and realization. Such a person is situated in transcendence and is self-controlled. He sees everything, whether it be pebble, stone, or gold, as the same. Text 9. It's not clear, Mataji. It's going up and down. Suhar Mitra. Now it's clear. Suhar Mitrari Udasina Madhyastha Dveshya Bandhusu Sadhusau api cha papeshu samabuddhir vishishyate. Translation by His Divine Grace is Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. A person is said to be still further advanced when he regards all the honest well-wisher, friends and enemies, the envious, the pious, the sinner, and those who are indifferent and impartial with an equal mind. Text 10. Yogi yunjita satatam atmanam rahasi stitah ekaki yata chittatma nirashir aparigrahah. Translation by His Divine Grace is Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. A transcendentalist should always try to concentrate his mind on the Supreme Self. He should live alone in a secluded place and should always carefully control his mind. He should be free from desires and feelings of possessiveness. Hare Krishna Gurudev Dandavat Pranam Jai Shri Prabhupada. Please forgive me if I have committed any offenses while reading Panchakalpataru Bhashya Kripa Sindhuvacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Whoever wants to come next, please come. Start from text 11.
Yashwini Mataji, can you come for screen sharing and you can start recitation also?
Hare Krishna Mataji. May I recite with screen share, Mataji?
Yes, yes, Mataji, you do screen sharing from the side. Okay, I have shared the link in Sangha Mataji. That website you can open.
Okay, Mataji. ठीक है. Just a minute. माताजी, is there anyone to recite? किसी को करना है क्या recite कि मैं कर लूँ?
आप ही कीजिए माताजी. आपने बोला था ना कि 6:30 के बाद आप कर सकते हो.
हाँ जी, मुझे लगा अगर किसी का टर्न है तो फिर कोई बात नहीं, मैं वेट कर लूंगी.
आप कर लीजिए माताजी. 6:30 के बाद आपको ही लगा था मैंने. फिर 7 के बाद से अदर माताजी से करा.
ठीक है माताजी. ओके माताजी. हरे कृष्णा गुरुदेव जी के अंदर प्रणाम. जय श्री प्रभुपाद. जय हिंद ग्रेस दास गुरुदेव जी. नमो विष्णुपादाय श्री कृष्णाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी स्वामी मिस्टर सहस्त्रदेवी गौरवाणी प्रज्वलित निर्विशेष शून्यवादी काशदेशताई. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री द्वैत गदाधर शिवाचार्य गौर भक्तवृंद. हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे राम राम हरे हरे. हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे राम हरे हरे. Thank you so much, Gurudev ji, for giving the opportunity to recite Bhagavad Gita shlokas. Okay, I'm starting. Chapter 6, text 11 to 12. Suchayo deshe प्रतिष्ठितव्या नेति. Suchayo deshe प्रतिष्ठितव्या स्थिरि. Just a minute. Suchayo deshe प्रतिष्ठितव्या स्थिराम अशनाम आत्मना नेति उच्चतराम नेति चाम चनांजनक्षोत्तराम तत्राग्राम मना कृत्वा यदा चितेन्द्रिया क्रिया उपविश्यानि युञ्जिता योगम आत्मा विशुद्धया. The translation of the shloka is: to practice yoga, one should go to a secluded place and should lay kusha grass on the ground and then cover it with a deer skin and a soft cloth. The seat should neither be too high nor too low and should be situated in a sacred place. The yogi should then sit on it very firmly and should practice yoga by controlling the mind and the senses, purifying the heart and fixing the mind on one point. Hare Krishna, Jai Shri Prabhupada. ये हो नहीं रहा है माता जी. मतलब वेबसाइट से नहीं हो रहा. बुक से कर लूं स्क्रीन शेयर.
कर लीजिए माताजी.
ओके. Text 13 to 14. Smam kaya shiro grivam धारयन् धारयन् अचलं स्थिरा सम्प्रेक्ष्य नासिकाग्रं स्वं दिशाश्चन्वलोक्यम् प्रसन्नात्मा ब्रह्मचारी व्रते स्थिता मनः संयम्य मच्चित्तो युक्त ashta matparha. The translation of the shloka is: one should hold one's body, neck, and head erect in a straight line and steer steadily at the tip of the nose, thus with an unagitated, subdued mind, devoid of fear, completely free from sex life. One should meditate upon me within the heart and make me the ultimate goal of life. Text 15. युञ्जान एवां सदात्मानं योगी नियत मानसा सन्तिं निर्वाणपरमां मत्संस्थाम् अधिगच्छति. The translation of this shloka is: thus practicing control of the body, mind, and activities, the mystic transcendentalist attains to the kingdom of God for the word of Krishna by cessation of material existence. Text 16. Natyasnatastu yogosti na jagantam anasnata na chate swapna silasya jagrato neva jarjuna. Translation of the shloka is: there is no possibility of one's becoming a yogi, O Arjuna, if one eats too much or eats too little, sleeps too much or does not sleep enough. Text 17. युक्ताहरा विहारस्य युक्ता चेतस्य कर्मसु युक्ता स्वप्नवा बोधस्य योगो भवति तुकाः. The translation of this shloka is: he who is temperate in his habits of eating, sleeping, walking, and recreation can mitigate all material pains by practicing the yoga system. Purport: extravagance in the matter of eating, sleeping, defending, and mating, which are demands of body, can block advance in the practice of yoga. As far as eating is concerned, it can be regulated only when it's practiced to take and accept prasadam, sanctified food. Lord Krishna is offered according to the Bhagavad-GITA 9.26, vegetables, flowers, fruits, grains, milk, etc. In this way, a person in Krishna consciousness becomes automatically trained not to accept food not meant for human consumption or which is not in the category of goodness. As far as the sleeping is concerned, a Krishna conscious person is always allowed in the discharge of his duties in Krishna consciousness, and therefore any unnecessary time spent sleeping is considered a great loss. A Krishna conscious person cannot bear to pass a minute of his life without being engaged in the service of the Lord. Therefore, his sleeping is kept to a minimum. His ideal in this respect is Srila Rupa Goswami, who was always engaged in the service of Krishna and who could not sleep more than 2 hours a day, and sometimes not even that. Thakura Haridasa would not even accept prasadam, not even sleep for a moment without finishing his daily routine of chanting with his beat 300,000 times names. As far as work is concerned, a Krishna conscious person does do not anything which is not connected with Krishna's interest, and thus his work is regulated and is untainted by sense gratification. Since there is no question of sense gratification, there is no material leisure for a person in Krishna consciousness, and because he is regulated in all his work, speech, sleeps, wakefulness, and all other bodily activities, there is no material misery for him. Text 18. Yada viniyatam chitam atmani ivavtisthate nishparah sarva kamebhyo yuktah iti uchyate tada. The translation of this shloka is, when the yogi, by practice of yoga, discipline his mental activities and becomes situated in transcendence, devoid of all material desires, he is said to have attained yoga. Text 19. Just यथा दीपो निवातस्थो नेङ्गते सोपमस्मृता योगिनो यथा चित्तस्य युञ्जतो योगम् आत्मनः. The translation of the shloka is, as a lamp in a windless place does not waver, so the transcendentalist whose mind is controlled remains always steady in his meditation on the transcendent self. Text 22-23. यत्रो परमते चितां निरुद्धं योगा सेवाया यत्र चैवात्मनात्मानं पश्यन् आत्मानि तुष्यति सुखम् आत्यन्तिकं यत्तद् बुद्धिग्राह्यम् अतीन्द्रियं वेति यत्र न चैवयां स्थिताश्चलति तत्त्वतः यं लब्ध्वा चापरं लभं मन्यते नाधिकं ततः यस्मिन् स्थितो न दुःखेन गुरुणापि विचाल्यते तं विद्वयात् दुःखा संयोगा वियोगा संचिन्तम्. Translation of this shloka is, the stage of perfection is called trance or samadhi, when one's mind is completely restrained from material mental activities by practice of yoga. This is characterized by one's ability to see the self by the pure mind and to relish and rejoice in the self. In that joyous state, one is situated in boundless transcendental happiness and enjoys himself through transcendental senses. Established thus, one never departs from the truth, and upon gaining this, he thinks there is no greater gain. Being situated in such a position, one is never shaken, even in the midst of greatest difficulty. This indeed is actual freedom from all miseries arising from material contact. Text 24. Sa nishayana yoktavyo yogo nirvina chetasa संकल्प प्रभावन कामम त्याक्त्वा सर्वन अशेषता मानसवेन्द्रिय ग्रमाम विनियाम्य samantata. The translation of this shloka is, one should engage oneself in the practice of yoga with undeviating determination and faith. One should abandon without exception all material desires born of false ego and thus control all the senses on all sides by the mind. Text 25. शनि शनया उप्रामि बुद्धया धृति धृताया आत्मसंस्थान माना कृत्वा न किंचित अपि चिन्तयेत्. The translation of the shloka is, gradually, step by step, with full conviction, one should become situated in trance by means of intelligence, and thus the mind should be fixed on the self alone and should think of nothing else. Text 26. Yato yato nischalati manas chanchalam asthiram tattastato niyamyate atmane iva vasam nayet. Translation of the shloka is: from whatever and wherever the mind wanders, due to its flickering and unsteady nature, one must certainly withdraw it and bring it back under the control of the sense. Text 27. Prasanta manasam he inam yoginam sukham uttamam uppeti sant rajasam brahma bhutam akalmasam. Translation: the yogi whose mind is fixed on me verily and attains the highest happiness by virtue of his identity with Brahman, he is liberated. His mind is peaceful, his passions are quieted, and he is free from sin. Text 28. Yunjan ivam sadatmanam yogi vigad kalavasah sukhena brahma samsparsam atyantam sukham ashnute. Translation: steady in the self, being freed from all material contamination, the yogi achieves the highest perfectional stage of happiness in touch with the supreme consciousness. Text 29. Sarva bhutastham atmanam sarva bhutani chatmani ikshate yoga yukta atma sarvatra samadarshana. Translation: a true yogi observes me in all beings and also sees every being in me. Indeed, the self-realized man sees me everywhere. Text 30. यो मम पश्यति सर्वत्र सर्वं च मयि पश्यति तस्याहं न प्रणश्यामि स च मे न प्रणश्यति. Translation: for one who sees me everywhere and sees everything in me, I am never lost, nor he is ever lost to me. Text 31. सर्वभूता स्थितां यो मां भजते एकात्वम् अस्थिता सर्वथा वर्तमानोऽपि स योगी मयि वर्तते. Translation: the yogi who knows that I and the super soul within all creatures are one worships me and remains always in me in all circumstances. Text 32. आत्मौपम्येन सर्वत्र समां पश्यन्ति यो अर्जुन सुखं वा याति वा दुःखं स योगी परमो मता. Translation: he is a perfect yogi who, by comparison to his own self, sees the true quality of all beings, both in their happiness and distress. O Arjuna. Text 33. Arjuna uvacha यो यं योगास्त्वया प्रोक्ता सम्येन मधुसूदन यास्याहं न पश्यामि चञ्चलत्वत्स्थितिं स्थिरम्. Translation of the shloka is: Arjuna said, O Madhusudan, the system of yoga which you have summarized appears impractical and endurable to me, for the mind is restless and unsteady. Text 34. चंचलम ही मना कृष्णा प्रमाथि बलवत् धृतम् तस्याहं निग्रहं मन्ये वयोर इवा सुदुष्करम्. Translation: for the mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate, and very strong, O Krishna, and to subdue it seems to me and more difficult than controlling the wind. Text 35. Shri Bhagwan Uvacha Asamsya Mahabaho Mano निग्रहं चलम् अभ्यासेन तु कौन्तेय वैराग्येन न गृह्यते. Translation: The Blessed Lord said, O mighty armed son of Kunti, it is undoubtedly very difficult to curb the restless mind, but it is possible by constant practice and by detachment. Text 36. Asamnyata tvana yogo dushprapa iti me mati vashyatmana tu yadata sakyo vaptum upayata. Translation: For one whose mind is unbridled, self-realization is difficult work, but he whose mind is controlled and who strives by right means is assured of success. That is my opinion. Text 37. Arjun Uvacha Ayati Shraddha Yopito Yojak Chalita Manasa Apravya Yoga Samsiddhim Kam Gatim Krishna Gachati. Translation: Arjuna said, what is the destination of the man of faith who does not persevere, who in the beginning takes to the process of self-realization, but who later desists due to worldly mindedness and does not attain perfection in mysticism. Text 38. Text 38. Sachin Lobhaya Vibrastas Chinna Brahm Iva Nashyati Apratishutho Mahabaho Vimudho Brahmanapati. Translation: O mighty armed Krishna, does not such a man, being deviated from the path of transcendence, perish like a riven cloud with no position in any sphere? Text 39. Itan me samsayam Krishna chetum se ashishta tvad anya samsayasya samsayasya chetana hiya upadpadayate. Translation: This is my doubt, O Krishna, and I ask you to dispel it completely, but for yourself no one is to be found who can destroy this doubt. Text 40. Shri Bhagwan Uvacha Partha Neveha Namutra Vinashastasya Vidayate Nahi Kalyana Krit Kaschid Durgatim Tata Gachati. Translation: The Blessed Lord said, O son of Pratha, a transcendentalist engaged in auspicious activities does not meet with destruction either in this world or in the spiritual world. One who does good, my friend, is never overcome by evil. Text 41. Prapya punya kritam lokan ushitva sashvati sama suchi nam srimatam grihe yogo bhrashto vijayate. Translation: The unsuccessful yogi, after many years of enjoyment on the planets of the pious living entities, is born into a family of righteous people or into a family of rich aristocracy. Text 42. Athava yoginam eva kule bhavati dhimatam itadi durlabhataram loke janma yat idarsham. Translation of this shloka is, or he takes his birth in a family of transcendentalists who are surely great in wisdom. Verily, such a birth is rare in this world. Text 43. Tatra tam buddhi samyogam labhate purva dehikam yatate cha tato bhuya samsiddhau kuru nandana. Translation of this shloka is, on taking such a birth, he again revives the divine consciousness of his previous life and he tries to make further progress in order to achieve complete success, O son of Guru. Text 44. Purva bhesana teneva hiryate hi avashopisha Jinjanasur api yogasya saptil brahmati vartate. The translation of this shloka is: by virtue of the divine consciousness of his previous life, he automatically become attracted to the yogic principles even without seeking them. Such an inquisitive transcendentalist striving for yoga stands always above the ritualistic principles of the scriptures. Text 45. Prayatnat yatmanastu yogi samshuddha killi bhasha aneka janma samsiddhas tato yati param gatim. Translation: but when the yogi engages himself with sincere endeavor in making further progress, being versed all of contaminations, then ultimately, after many births of practice, he attains the supreme goal. Text 46. Tapasvi bhyo dhiko yogi jananibhyo pi mato dikha karmi bhyasha dhiko yogi tasmad yogi bhavarjuna. Translation: a yogi is greater than the ascetic, greater than the empiricist, and greater than the fruitive worker. Therefore, O Arjuna, in all circumstances be a yogi. Text 47. Yogina api sarvesham mat gatinan tarantmana shraddhavan bhajate yo mam same yukta tamo mata. Translation: and all of yogis Mataji, can someone come? Hare Krishna, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to His Grace Ji. Thank you so much, Gurudev Ji, for giving me opportunity. Text 47 से read करना है माताजी.
Hare Krishna Mataji, can I read Mataji? Actually, I was added in the list before two Prabhujis were there. I'm not sure whether they're online here or not. I was waiting from some time.
Mataji, no problem.
Sorry, Mataji, can you repeat again? जी Mataji, just 1 minute. Hare Krishna everyone, Jai Srila Prabhupada, Jai His Grace, Gauranga Samadas Gurudev. Mataji, 47 sloka is Yogina Api Sarvesham, right? Yoginam api sarvesham madgaten nam taratmanam shraddhavan bhajato yomam same yuktatam mataha. And of all yogis, he who always abides in me with great faith Worshipping means transcendental loving services is most intimately united with me in yoga and is highest of all. Shubhangi Mataji, I'm not sure like what are the important slokas in this chapter. Can I check once? Okay, this is important sloka. The word bhajate is significant here. Bhajate has its root in the verb bhash, which is used when there is need of service. The English word worship cannot be used in the same sense as the bhaja. Worship means to order, to adore or to show respect and honor to the worthy one. But service with love and faith is especially meant for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One can avoid worshipping a respectable man or demigod and may be called discourteous, but one cannot avoid serving the Supreme Lord without being thoroughly condemned. Every living entity is part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and thus every living entity is intended to serve the Supreme Lord by its own constitution. Failing to do this, he falls down. The Bhagavatam confirms this as follows. Ya esham purusham sakshat atma prabhavam ishwaram na bhajanti avajananti stanat brashta bhatanti adaha. Anyone who does not render service and neglects his duty unto the primal Lord, who is source of all living entities, will certainly fall down from his constitutional position. In this verse also, the word bhajanti is used. Therefore, bhajanti is applicable to the Supreme Lord only, whereas the word worship can be applied to demigods or to any other common living entity. The word avajananti used in the verse of Srimad Bhagavatam is also found in the Bhagavad Gita. Avajananti Mamudam. Only the fools and rascals deride the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna. Such fools take it upon themselves to write commentaries on the Bhagavad Gita without an attitude of service to the Lord. Consequently, consequently, they cannot properly distinguish between the word bhajanti and the word worship. The culmination of all kinds of yoga practices lies in Bhakti Yoga. All other yogas are but means to come to the point of bhakti in the Bhakti Yoga. Yoga actually means Bhakti Yoga. All other yogas are progressions towards the destination of Bhakti Yoga. From the beginning of from the beginning of Karma Yoga to the end of Bhakti Yoga is a long way to self-realization. Karma Yoga without future result is the beginning of this path. When Karma Yoga increases in knowledge and the renunciation, the stage is called Jnana Yoga. When Jnana Yoga increases in meditation on the super soul by different physical process and the mind is on him, it is called Ashtanga Yoga. And when one surpasses the Ashtanga Yoga and comes to the point of Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, it is called Bhakti Yoga, the culmination. So actually the Bhakti Yoga is the ultimate goal. But to analyze Bhakti Yoga minutely, one has to understand these other yogas. The yogi who is progressive is therefore on the true path of eternal good fortune. One who sticks to a particular point and does not make further progress is called by that particular name. Karma Yogi, Jnana Yogi or Dhyana Yogi, Raja Yogi, Hatha Yogi, etc. If one is fortunate enough to come to the point of Bhakti Yoga, it is to be understood that he has surpassed all other yogas. Therefore, to become Krishna consciousness is the highest stage of yoga. Just as when we speak of Himalayan, we refer to the world's highest mountains, of which the highest peak, Mount Everest, is considered to be the culmination. It is by great fortune that one comes to Krishna consciousness on the path of Bhakti Yoga to become well situated according to the Vedic direction. The ideal yogi concentrates his attention on Krishna, who is called Shama Sundar, who is as beautifully colored as cloud. Wear lotus like face is an effulgent as the sun, whose dress is brilliant with jewels, and whose body is flower garlanded. Illuminating all sides is his gorgeous luster, which is called the Brahma Jyoti. He incarnates in different forms, such as Rama, Nrsimha, Varaha, and Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he descends like a human being as a son of Mother Yashoda, and he is known as Krishna, Govinda, and Vasudeva. He is the perfect child, husband, friend, and master, and he is full with all opulences and transcendental qualities. If one remains fully conscious of these features of the Lord, he is called the highest yogi. The stage of highest perfection in yoga can be attained only by Bhakti Yoga, as it is confirmed in all Vedic literature. Yasya deva para bhaktir yata deva tata guru. तस्य ते कथिता हि अर्था तस्य ते कथिता हि अर्थ prakashante mahatmana. Only unto those only unto those great souls who has implicit faith in both the Lord and spiritual master are all the imports of Vedic knowledge automatically revealed. Bhakti Rasa Bhajanam Tadiha Mutropadi Nairashe Namushim Manah Kalpam Etad Eva Nishkarmyam. Bhakti means devotional service to the Lord which is free from desire for material profit either in this life or in the next. Devoid of such inclinations, one should fully absorb the mind in the Supreme. That is purpose of Nishkramya. There are some of the means for performance of Bhakti or Krishna consciousness. The highest perfection stage of the yoga system. That ends the Bhakti Vedanta purport to the sixth chapter of Srimad Bhagavad-Gita in the matter of Sankhya Yoga, Brahma Vidya. Bhagavad-Gita chapter 7, Knowledge of the Absolute. Sri Bhagavan Vacha. Maya Saktamanah Pratam Yogayunjam Adashrayam Asamshayam Samagramam Yata Jnanashita Shranu. Now hear, O son of Pritha Arjuna, how by practicing yoga in full conscious of me with mind attached to me, you can know me in full, free from doubt. Text 2. Gnanam Deham Savignanam Midam Vyashyami Asetah Asesatah Yajnatvaneha Bhuyo Yajnatvayam Avashishyate. I shall now declare unto you in full this knowledge, both phenomenal and nominal, by knowing which there shall remain nothing further to be known. Text 3. Others. Manushanam sahasreshu kashid yatati siddhim yatatmam api siddhanam kashim mam veti tatvatah. Out of many thousands among men, one may endeavor for perfection, and of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. There are various grades of men, and out of many thousands, one may be sufficiently interested in transcendental realization to try to know what is the self, what is the body, and what is the absolute truth. Generally, mankind is simply engaged in the animal propensities, namely eating, sleeping, defending, and mating, and hardly anyone is interested in transcendental knowledge. The first 6 chapters of the Gita are meant for those who are interested in transcendental knowledge, in understanding the self, the super self, and the process of realization by Jnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, and discrimination of the self from matter. However, Krishna can only be known by persons who are in Krishna consciousness. Other transcendental other transcendentalists may achieve impersonal Brahman realization For this is easier than understanding Krishna. Krishna is the supreme person, but at the same time he is beyond the knowledge of Brahman and Paramatma. The yogis and jnanis are confused in their attempts to understand Krishna. Although the great of the impersonalist Sripad Shankaracharya has admitted in his Gita commentary that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, but his followers do not accept Krishna as such, for it is very difficult to know Krishna. Even though one has transcendental realization of impersonal Brahman, Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, the cause of all causes, the premier Lord Govinda. Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachit Ananda Vigraha Nadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. It is very difficult for the non-devotees to know him. Although non-devotees declare that the part of bhakti or devotional service is very easy, they cannot practice it. If the part of bhakti is so easy as the non-devotees class of men proclaim, then why do they take up the difficult path? Actually, the path of bhakti is not easy. The so-called path of bhakti practiced by unauthorized persons without knowledge of bhakti may be easy, but when it is practiced factually according to the rules and regulations, the speculative scholars and philosophers fall away from the path. Sri Rupa Goswami writes in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Shruti Smriti Puranadi Pancha Ratra Vidimvina Aikantiki Hare Bhaktir Utpataya Iva Kalpati. Devotional service of the Lord that ignores the authorized Vedic literature like the Upanishad, Puranas, Narada Pancharatram, etc., is simply an unnecessary disturbance in society. It is not possible for the Brahman realized impersonalist or the Paramatma realized yogi to understand Krishna. The Supreme Personality of Godhead as the son of Mother Yashoda or the charioteer of Arjuna. Even the great demigods are sometimes confused about Krishna. Muhyanti yat Suraya. Mam tu Vedana Kashtana. No one knows me as I am. The Lord says, and if one does not know him, then Sa Mahatma Durlabha. Such a great soul is very rare. Therefore, unless one practices devotional service to the Lord, he cannot know Krishna as he is Tatpata. Even though one is a great scholar or philosopher, only the pure devotees can know something of the inconceivable transcendental qualities in Krishna, in the cause of all causes, in his omnipotence and opulence, and in his wealth, fame, strength, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation, because Krishna is benevolently inclined to his devotees. He is the last word in Brahman realization, and the devotees alone can realize him as he is. Therefore, it is said, Ata Sri Krishna Namadi na bhavet graham indriya sevonmuke hi jihvadu swayam eva spurtada. No one can understand Krishna as he is by the blunt material senses, but he reveals himself to the devotees, being pleased with them for their transcendental loving service unto him. Bhumir text word. Bhumir apo nalo vaya kam mano buddhir evacham ahankara itiyam me binna prakriti ashtaram. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego all together, these eight comprise my separated material energies. The science of God analyzes the constitutional position of God and these diverse energies. Material nature is called Prakriti or the energy of the Lord in his different Purusha incarnations as described in Shvetavata Tantra. Vishnostu trini rupani purushakshyani ato vidu ekantu mahatah shrestri dvitiyam tu anna samastitam tritiyam sarvabhutastam tani natva vimushyate. For material creation, Lord Krishna's plenary expansion assumes three Vishnus. The first one, Mahavishnu, creates the total material energy known as Mahatattva. The second, Garbhodakashaya Vishnu, enters into all the universe to create diversities in each of them. The third Kshirodakshaya Vishnu is diffused as the all-pervading super soul in all universe and is known as Paramatma, who is present even within the atoms. Anyone who knows these three Vishnus can be liberated from material entanglement. This material world is a temporary manifestation of one of the energies of the Lord. All the activities of material world are directed by these three Vishnu expansions of Lord Krishna. These Puranas are called incarnations. Mataji. These Puranas are called incarnations. Generally, one who does not know the science of God, Krishna, assumes that this material world is for the enjoyment of living entities, and thus the living entities are causes. Purushas, controllers and enjoyers of the material energy. According to Bhagavad-Gita, this atheistic conclusion is false. In the verse under discussion, it is stated that Krishna is the original cause of material manifestation. Srimad, Srimad Bhagavatam also confirms this. The ingredients of the material manifestation are separated energies of the Lord. Even the Brahma Jyoti, which is the ultimate goal of the impersonalist, is a spiritual energy manifestation manifested in the spiritual sky. There are no spiritual diversities in Brahmajyoti as there are in Vaikuntha Lokas. And the impersonalist accepts the Brahmajyoti as the ultimate eternal goal. The Paramatma manifestation is also a temporary, all pervasive aspect of Shirodakashaya Vishnu. The Paramatma manifestation is not eternal in the spiritual world. Therefore, the factual absolute truth is the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. He is the complete energetic person and he possesses different separated and internal energies. In the material energy, the principal manifestations are eight as above mentioned. Out of these, the first five manifestations, namely earth, water, fire, air, and sky, are called the five gigantic creations or the gross creations within which the five sense objects or included. They are manifestations of physical sound, touch, form, taste, and smell. Material science compromises these 10 items and nothing more, but other three items, namely mind, intelligence, and false ego, are neglected by the materialistic. Philosophers who deal with the mental activities are also not perfect in knowledge because they do not know the ultimate source Krishna. The false ego I am and its mind, which constitute the basic principle of material existence, include 10 sense organs for material activities. Intelligence refers to the total material creation called the Mahatattva. Therefore, from the eight separated energies of the Lord are manifest the 24 elements of the material world, which are the subject matter of Sankhya, atheistic philosophy. There are originally offshoots from Krishna's energies and are separated from him. But atheistic Sankhya philosophers with a pure fund of knowledge do not know Krishna as the cause of all causes. The subject matter for discussion in the Sankhya Yoga philosophy is only the manifestation of the external energy of Krishna as it is described in Bhagavad Gita. Text file. Apreyam itastvanyam prakritim vidi me param jiva bhutam mahabaho yedam dharyate jagat. Besides this inferior nature, O mighty Arjuna, there is a superior energy of mind, which are all living entities who are struggling with material nature and are sustaining the universe. Here it is clearly mentioned that living entities belong to the superior nature or energy of the Supreme Lord. The inferior energy is matter manifested in different elements, namely earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. Both forms of material nature, namely gross, earth, and subtle mind, are products of the inferior energy. The living entities who are exploring these inferior energies for different purposes are the superior energy of the Supreme Lord. And it is due to energy that Just 1 second, Mataji. Can you scroll a bit up, Mataji? Yeah, Mataji. The living entities who are exploiting these inferior energies for different purposes or superior energy of Supreme Lord. And it is due to this energy that entire material world functions. The cosmic manifestation has no power to act unless it is moved by the superior energy. The living entity energies are always controlled by the energetic, and therefore living entities are always controlled by the Lord. They have no independent existence. They are never equally powerful as unintelligent thing. The distinction between the living entities and the Lord is described in the Srimad Bhagavatam as follows. Aparimita dhruvastanu bhruto yedi sarvagatas trahim na sasheti niyamo dhruva netara. यथार्थम् अजानि च यन्मयं तद् अभिमुखे नियन्त्र भवेत् समम् अनुजानातं यद् amatam mata dishtaya. O supreme eternal, if the embodied living entities were eternal and all pervading like you, then they would not be under your control. But if the living entities are accepted as minute energies of your lordship, then they are at once subject to your supreme control. Therefore, real liberation entails surrender by the living entities to your control, and that surrender will make them happy. In that constitutional position only can they be controllers. Therefore, men with limited knowledge who advocate the monistic theory that God and the living entities are equal in all respects are actually misleading themselves and others. The Supreme Lord Krishna is only controller, and all the living entities are controlled by him. These living entities are his superior energy because the quality of their existence is one and the same with the Supreme, but they are never equal to the Lord in quantity of power. While exploiting the gross and subtle inferior energy, the superior energy forgets his real spiritual mind and intelligence. This forgetfulness is due to influence of matter upon the living entity. But when the living entity becomes free from the influence of influence of the illusionary material energy, he attains the stage called mukti or liberation. The false ego, under his influence of material illusion, thinks I am matter and matter acquisitions or mind. His position is realized when he is liberated from uh, I'm sorry. Uh, when he is liberated from all material ideas, including the conception of his becoming one in all respects with God. Therefore, one may conclude that the Gita confirms the living entity to be only one of the multi-energies of Krishna, and when this energy is freed from material contamination, it becomes fully Krishna conscious or liberated. Mataji, can someone recite now? I'll end here. Avancha kalpatarabhyasa kripa sinna bhaivacha patitanam pavanabhya vaishnavabhyo namo namo.
Yes, Harshil Prabhuji, can you come? And after that, Aditya Mehta Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, I'm audible.
Yes, Prabhuji. Just 1 minute. First, Harshil Prabhu recite, then Aditya Mehta Prabhuji, then Atit Guna Mataji, Hemasundari Mataji, then Pranpriya Mataji. You can come. Prabhuji, you start.
Okay, Mataji. Hare Krishna Gurudev, Dandat Pranam, Jai Shri Prabhupada. नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमती भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाशाद देशतारिणे हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे राम राम हरे हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे राम राम हरे हरे कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे राम हरे Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, text 6. एतत् योनिनि भूतानि सर्वनिति उपाधार्य अहं कृष्णस्य जगतः प्रभावः प्रलयस्तथा. Translation: of all that is material and all that is spiritual in this world, know for certain that I am both its origin and dissolution. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, text 7. मत्तः परतरं नान्यत् किञ्चिद् अस्ति धनञ्जय मयि सर्वम् idam protam sutre manigana iva. Translation: O conqueror of wealth, Arjuna, there is no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on a thread. Purport by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada. There is a common controversy over whether the Supreme Absolute Truth is personal or impersonal. As far as Bhagavad Gita is concerned, the Absolute Truth is the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna, and this is confirmed in every step. In this verse, in particular, it is stressed that the Absolute Truth is a person, that the personality of Godhead is the Supreme Absolute Truth is also the affirmation of the Brahma Samhita. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha. That is, the supreme absolute truth personality of Godhead is Lord Krishna, who is the primeval Lord, the reservoir of all pleasure, Govinda, and the eternal form of complete bliss and knowledge. These authorities leave no doubt that the absolute truth is the supreme person, the cause of all causes. The impersonalist, however, argues on the strength of the Vedic version given in the Svetasvatra Upanishad. ततो यद् उत्तरात्तरं तद् अरूपम् अनाम्यं य एतद् विदुर अमृतास्ते भवन्ति अतितारे दुःखम् एवापि यान्ति. In the material world, Brahma, the primeval living entity within the universe, is understood to be the supreme among us, the demigods, human beings, and lower animals. But beyond Brahma, there is the transcendence who has no material form and is free from all material contaminations. Anyone who can know him also becomes transcendental, but those who do not know him suffer the miseries of the material world. The impersonalist puts more stress on the word arupam, but this arupam is not impersonal. It indicates the transcendental form of eternity, bliss, and knowledge as described in the Brahma Samhita, quoted above. Other verses in the Svetasvatara Upanishad substantiate this as follows. वेदाहम् इतं पुरुषं महन्तम् आदित्यवर्णं तमसः प्रसतात् हम इव विद्वान् अमृत इह भवति नान्यः पन्थः विद्यते अयनया यस्मात् परं न पारम् अस्ति कञ्चिद् यस्मान्नियो न जयो किञ्चित्. I know that Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is transcendental to all material conception of darkness, only He knows Him can transcend the bonds of birth and death. There is no way for liberation other than this knowledge of that Supreme Person. There is no truth superior to the Supreme Person because He is the supermost. He is smaller than the smallest and He is greater than the greatest. He is situated as a silent tree and He illumines the transcendental sky. And as a tree spreads its roots, he spreads his extensive energies. From these verses, one concludes that the Supreme Absolute Truth is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is all pervading by his multi energies, both material and spiritual. Text 8. Raso aham apsu kaunteya prabhasme sasi suryah pranavah sarvavedeshu sabdahat kah purusham nasu. Translation: O son of Kunti Arjuna, I am the taste of water and the light of the sun and the moon, the syllable Om in the Vedic mantras. I am the sound in either the ability in man. Purport by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. This verse explains how the Lord is all. Uh, sorry. The purport is not to be read. I'm very sorry. Text 9. पुण्यो गन्धः पृथ्व्यं च तेजश्चस्मे विभावसौ जीवानां सर्वभूतेषु तपश्चस्मे तपस्विषु. Translation: I am the original fragrance of the earth, and I am the heat in fire. I am the life of all that lives, and I am the penances of all ascetics. Text 10. बीजं मम सर्वभूतानां विधि पार्थ सनातनं बुद्धिर्बुद्धिमतम् अस्मि तेजस्विनम् aham. Translation: O son of Partha, know that I am the original seed of all existence, the intelligence of the intelligent, and the powers of all powerful man. Text 11. Balam balvatam cha ham kama raga vivarjitam dharma viruddho bhuteshu kamosmi bharatavarsabha. Translation: I am the strength of the strong, devoid of passion and desire. I am sex life which is not contrary to religious principle. O Lord of the Bharatas, Arjuna. Text 12. यच्चैव सात्विकभाव रजसस्तामश्च ये मत्त एव तितन्विद्धि न तेव अहं तेषु तैमयि. Translation: all states of being, be they of goodness, passion, or ignorance, are manifested by my energy. I am, in one sense, everything, but I am independent. I am not under the modes of this material nature. Text 13. त्रिभिर्गुणार्मयर्भावेर्भिः सर्वम् इदं जगत् मोहितां नाभिजानाति मम एभय param avayayam. Translation: deluded by the three modes, goodness, passion, and ignorance, the whole world does not know me who am above the who me does not know me who am above the modes and inexhaustible. Text 14. Devi hai aisha gunnamay mama maya duratyaya mam eva ye prapadyante mayam itam tarantite. Translation: this divine energy of mine, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome, but those who have surrendered into me can easily cross beyond it. Purport by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has innumerable energies, and all these energies are divine. Although the living entities are part of these energies and are therefore divine, due to contact with material energy, their original superior power is covered. Being thus covered by material energy, one cannot possibly overcome its influence. As previously stated, both the material and spiritual natures, being emanations from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, are eternal. The living entities belong to the eternal superior nature of the Lord, but due to contamination by the inferior nature, matter, their illusion is also eternal. The conditioned soul is therefore called Nitya Bhadd or eternally conditioned. No one can trace out the history of his becoming conditioned at a certain date in a material history. Consequently, his release from the clutches of material nature is very difficult, even though that material nature is an inferior energy because material nature is ultimately conducted by the supreme will, which the living entity cannot overcome. Inferior material nature is defined herein as a defined divine nature with its divine connection and movement by the divine will. Being conducted by divine will, material nature, although inferior, acts so wonderfully in the construction and destruction of the cosmic manifestation. The Vedas confirm this as follows: Mayam tu prakritim vidyan mayinam tu maheshwaram. Although Maya, illusion, is false or temporary, the background of Maya is the supreme magician, the personality of Godhead, who is Maheshwara, the supreme controller. Another meaning of guna is rope. It is to be understood that the conditioned soul is tightly tied by the ropes of illusion. A man bound by the hands and feet cannot free himself. He must be held by a person who is unbound. Because the bound cannot help the bound, the rescuer must be delivered. Therefore, only Lord Krishna or his one of his representative, the spiritual master, can release the conditioned soul. Without such superior help, one cannot be free from the bondage of material nature. Devotional service or Krishna consciousness can help one gain such relief. Krishna, being the Lord of illusory energy can order this insurmountable energy to release the conditioned soul. He orders this release out of his causeless mercy on the surrendered soul and out his paternal affection for the living entity who is originally a beloved son of the Lord. Therefore, surrender unto the lotus feet of the Lord is the only means to get free from the clutches of the stringent material nature. The words Mam Eva are also significant. Mam means unto Krishna only, Krishna Vishnu only, and not Brahma or Shiva. Although Brahma and Shiva are greatly elevated and are almost on the level of Vishnu, it is not possible for such incarnations of Rajagun, passion, and Tamogun, ignorance, to release the conditioned soul from the clutches of Maya. In other words, both Brahma and Shiva are also under the influence of Maya. Only Vishnu is the master of Maya. Therefore, he can alone give release to the conditioned soul. The Vedas confirm this in the phrase Tam eva viditva, or freedom is possible only by understanding Krishna. Even Lord Shiva affirms that liberation can be achieved only by the mercy of Vishnu. Lord Shiva says, Mukti pradata sarvesham Vishnu evana samsaya. There is no doubt that Vishnu is the deliverer of liberation for everyone. Text 15. Namam daskritna mudha prapadyante naradhama maya ya partha jnana asuram bhavam asritah. Translation: those miscreant who are grossly foolish, lowest among mankind, whose knowledge is given by illusion, and who partake of their atheistic nature of demons, do not surrender and come here. By easy Bhakti from Srila Prabhupada. It is said in Bhagavad Gita that simply by surrendering oneself under the lotus feet of Krishna, simply Supreme Personality Krishna, one can surmount the stringent laws of material nature. At this point, the question arises: how is it that educated philosophers, scientists, administrators, and all the leaders of ordinary men do not surrender to the lotus feet of Sri Krishna, the all powerful personality of Godhead? Mukti, or liberation from the laws of material nature, is sought by the leaders of mankind in different ways, and with great plans and perseverance for a great many years and births. But if that liberation is possible by simply surrendering unto the lotus feet of Supreme Personality of Godhead, then why don't these intelligent and hardworking leaders adopt this simple method? The Gita answers this question very frankly. Those really learned leaders of society like Brahma, Shiva, Kapila, and the Maharaj, Lola, Asita, Janaka, Prahlad, Bali, and the later on Madhavacharya, Ramanujacharya, Sri Chaitanya, and many others who are faithful philosophers, politicians, educators, scientists, etc., surrender to the lotus feet of Supreme Person, the all powerful authority. Those who are not actually philosophers, scientists, educators, administrators, but who pose themselves as much for material gain, do not accept the plan or path of the Supreme Lord. They have no idea of God. They simply manufacture their own worldly plans and consequently complicate the problems of material existence in their vain attempts to solve them. Because material energy nature is so powerful, it can resist the unauthorized plans of the atheist and baffle the knowledge of planning commissions. The atheistic plan makers are described herein by the word duskritrana or miscreants. Kritrana means one who has performed meritorious work. The theist plan maker is sometimes very intelligent and meritorious also, because any gigantic plan, good or bad, must take intelligence to execute. But because the atheist brain is improperly utilized in opposing the plan of the Supreme Lord, the atheistic plan maker is called Duskritana, which indicates that his intelligence and efforts are misdirected. In the Gita, it is clearly mentioned that material energy works fully under the direction of the Supreme Lord. It has no independent authority. It works as the shadow moves in accordance with the movements of the object, but still, material energy is very powerful. And the atheist, due to his godless temperament, cannot know how it works, nor can he know the plan of the Supreme Lord. Under illusion and the modes of the passion and ignorance, all his plans are baffled, as in the case of Hiranyakashipu and Ravana, whose plans were smashed to dust, although they were both materially learned as scientists, philosophers, administrators, and educators. These Duskritanas or miscreants are of four different patterns as outlined below. First, the mudhas are those who are grossly foolish, like hardworking beast of burden. They want to enjoy the fruits of their labor by themselves and so do not want to part with them for the supreme. The typical example of the beast of burden is the ass, and the humble beast is made to work very hard by his master. The ass does not really know for whom he works so hard day and night. He remains satisfied by filling his stomach with a bundle of grass, sleeping for a while under the fear of being beaten by his master, and satisfying his sex appetite at the risk of being repeatedly kicked by the opposite party. The ass sings poetry and philosophy sometimes, but this brain only disturb others. This is the position of the foolish primitive worker who does not know for whom he should work. He does not know that karma action is meant for yagna, sacrifice. Most often, those who work very hard day and night to clear the burden of self-created duties say that they have no time to hear of the immortality of the living thing. Too much mudhas material gains which are destructible are lives all despite the fact that the Buddhas enjoy only very small fraction of the fruit of labor. Sometimes they spend sleepless days and nights for fruitive gain, and although may have ulcers or indigestions, they are satisfied with practically no food. They are simply absorbed in working hard day and night for the benefit of illusory masters, ignorant of their real master. The foolish workers waste their valuable time serving man. Unfortunately, they never surrender to the supreme master of all senses, nor do they take time to hear of him from the proper sources. The swine who eat the soil do not care to accept sweet meats made of sugar and ghee. Similarly, the foolish worker will untryingly continue to hear of the sense and enjoyable tidings of the flickering mundane force that moves the material world. Now, the second. Another class of Duskritana or miscreant is called the Naradhama or the lowest of mankind. Nara means human being and Adhama means the lowest. Out of uh, 84 lakh different species of living beings, there are 4 lakh human species. Out of these, there are numerous lower forms of human life that are mostly uncivilized. The civilized human beings are those who have regulated principles of social, political, and religious life. Those who are socially and politically developed but who have no religious principles must be considered naradhamas. Nor is religion without God religion, because the purpose of following religious principle is to know the supreme truth and man's relation with him. In the Gita, the personality of the Godhead clearly states that there is no authority above him and that he is the supreme truth. The civilized form of human life is meant for man's reviving the lost consciousness of his eternal relation with the supreme truth, the personality of Godhead Shri Krishna, who is all powerful. Whoever loses this chance is classified as Naradhama. We get information from revealed scriptures that when the baby is in mother's womb, an extremely uncomfortable situation, he prays to God for deliverance and promises to worship him alone as soon as he gets out. To pray to God when he is in difficulties and naturally stricken every living being because he is eternally related with God. But after his deliverance, the child forgets the difficulties of birth and forgets his deliverer also, being influenced by Maya, the illusionary energy. It is the duty of the guardians of children to revive the divine consciousness dormant in them, the 10 processes of reformative ceremonies as enjoined in the Manu Samriti, which is the guide to religious principle, are meant for reviving God consciousness in the system of Varnashram. However, no process is strictly followed now in any part of the world, and therefore 99.9% of the pollution is Naradhama. When the whole population becomes Naradhama, naturally all their so-called education is made null and void by the all-powerful energy of physical nature. According to the standard of the Gita, a learned man is he who sees on equal terms the learned Brahmana, the dog, the cow, the elephant, and the dog eater. That is the vision of a true devotee. Sri Nityananda Prabhu, who is the incarnation of Godhead as divine master, delivered the typical Naradhamas, the brothers Jagai and Madai, and showed how the mercy of the real devotee is bestowed upon the lowest of mankind. So the Naradhama who is condemned by the personality of Godhead can again revive his spiritual consciousness only by the mercy of a devotee. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in the propagating the Bhagavad Dharma or activities of the devotees, has recommended that people submissively hear the message of the personality of Godhead. The essence of this message is Bhagavad-Gita. The lowest amongst human beings can be delivered by the submissive hearing process only. But unfortunately, they even deny giving an oral reception to those messages. And what to speak of surrendering to the will of the Supreme Lord? Naradhamas, or the lowest of mankind, willfully neglect the prime duty of the human beings. Third, the next class of Duskritana is called Mayaya Paharta Jnyan, or those persons whose erudite knowledge has been nullified by the influence of illusory material energy. They are mostly very learned followers, great philosophers, poets, literati, scientists, etc. But the illusory energy misguides them, and therefore they disobey the Supreme Lord. There are great number of Maya Pahartagyanas at the present moment, even amongst the scholars of the Gita. In the Gita, in plain and simple language, it is stated that Sri Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. There is none equal to or greater than him. He is mentioned as the father of Brahma, the original father of all human beings. In fact, Sri Krishna is said to be not only the father of Brahma, but also the father of all species of life. He is the root of the impersonal Brahma, and Paramatma, the super soul in every entity, is his plenary portion. He is the fountainhead of everything, and everyone is advised to surrender unto his lotus feet. Despite all these clear statements, the Maya Ya Pahartana Jnana Jana deride the personality of the Supreme Lord and consider him merely another human being. They do not know that the blessed form of human life is designed after the eternal and transcendental future of the Supreme Lord. All the unauthorized interpretation of the Gita by the class of Maya Paharth Janana outside the purview of the Parampara system are so many stumbling blocks in the path of spiritual understanding. The deluded interpreters do not surrender unto the lotus feet of Sri Krishna, nor do they teach others to follow this principle. Fourth, the last class of Duskritana is called Asuram Bhavam Asrita, or those of demonic principle. This class is openly atheistic. Some of them argue that the Supreme Lord can never descend upon this material world, but they are unable to give any tangible reasons as to why not. There are others who make him subordinate to the impersonal future, although the opposite is declared in the Gita. Envious of the Supreme Personality of the Godhead, the atheist will present a number of illicit incarnations manufactured in the factory of his brain. Such person whose very principle of life is to decry the personality of Godhead cannot surrender unto the lotus feet of Sri Krishna. Sri Yamunacharya Albandru of South India said, "O my Lord, you are unknowable to persons involved with artistic principles despite your uncommon qualities, futures, and activities, and despite your personality being confirmed by all the revealed scriptures and the quality of goodness, and despite your being acknowledged by the famous authorities renowned for the depth of knowledge in the transcendental science and situated in the godly qualities. Therefore, first, grossly foolish person; second, the lowest of mankind; third, the deluded speculators; and fourth, the professed atheist, as above mentioned, never surrender unto the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead in spite of all scriptural and authoritative advice." Bhagavad Gita, text 16. चतुर्विध भजन्ते माम जना सुकृत्न अर्जुन अर्थो जिज्ञासुर अर्थार्थी ज्ञानानि च पार्थसभ. Translation. O best among the Bharatas, Arjuna, four kinds of pious men render devotional service unto me: the distressed, the desirer of wealth, the inquisitive, and he who is searching for knowledge of the Absolute. Purport by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Unlike the miscreants, there are adherents of the regulative principle of the scriptures, and they are called Sukritana, or those who obey the rules and regulation of scriptures, the moral and social laws, and are more or less devoted to the Supreme Lord. Out of these, there are four classes of men: those who are sometimes distressed, those who are in need of money, those who are sometimes inquisitive, and those who are sometimes searching after knowledge of the absolute truth. These persons come to the Supreme Lord for devotional service under different conditions. These are not pure devotees because they have some aspiration to fulfill in exchange for devotional service. Pure devotional service is without aspiration and without desire for material profit. The Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu defines pure devotion thus: Anyabhilashata shunyam jnana karmati anavratam anukulena karshna silanam bhaktir uttama. One should render transcendental loving service to the Supreme Lord Krishna favorably and without desire for material profit or gain through fruitive activities of philosophical speculation. That is called pure devotional service. When these four kinds of persons come to the Supreme Lord for devotional service and are completely purified by the association of a pure devotee, they also become pure devotees. As far as the miscreants are concerned, for them, devotional service is very difficult because their lives are selfish, irregular, and without spiritual goals. But even some of them, by chance, when they come in contact with a pure devotee, also become pure devotees. Those who are always busy with fruitive activities come to the Lord in material distress, and at that time associate with pure devotees and become in their distress devotees of the Lord. Those who are simply frustrated also come sometimes to associate with the pure devotees and become inquisitive to know about God. Similarly, when the dry philosophers are frustrated in every field of knowledge, they some want to learn of God, and they come to the Supreme Lord to render devotional service and thus transcend knowledge of the impersonal Brahman and the localized Paramatma and come to the personal conception of Godhead by the grace of the Supreme Lord or his pure devotee. On the whole, when the distressed, the inquisitive, the seekers of knowledge, and those who are in need of money are free from all material desires, and when they fully understand that material remuneration has nothing to do with spiritual empowerment, they become pure devotees. As long as such a purified stage is not attained, as long as such a purified stage is not attained, devotees in transcendental service to the Lord are tainted with fruitive activities and they search after mundane knowledge, etc. So one has to transcend all this before one can come to the stage of pure devotional service. Text 70. Tesam gyani nityukta eka bhakti vishishyate priyo hi jnanino tatyartham aham sacha mama priya. Translation. Of these, the wise one who is in full knowledge, in union with me through pure devotional service is the best. For I am very dear to him and he is dear to me. Hare Krishna, Mataji, yes, continue. And please forgive me, Gurudev, for my if I've done any offense while speaking these topics. Please forgive. Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्णा माता जी, मैं कम नेक्स्ट? एक्चुअली थोड़ा जल्दी जाना है मुझे. थैंक यू माता जी. हरे कृष्णा, जय श्रीला हरे गोविंद गुरुदेव. नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण प्रेष्ठाय नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी जय कृष्ण चैतन्य जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य श्री अद्वैत गदाधर कृष्ण हरे कृष्ण 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 श्री हरे हरे राम हरे हरे. हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे. हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे. भगवद गीता चैप्टर 7 वर्स 18. उदारा सर्व एवैते ज्ञानी तव आत्मैव मे मतम् आशीत स हि युक्तस्म मामेवानुत्तम मां गतिम्. All these devotees are undoubtedly magnanimous souls, but he who is situated in knowledge of me, I consider verily to dwell in me. Being engaged in my transcendental service, he attains me. It is not that other devotees who other de- it is not that the living entity while executing devotional service or transcendental rituals after many births may actually become situated in transcendental pure knowledge that can you keep the screen steady, Prabhuji? Vaishnavi Mataji, thank you. The Lord says that all are magnanimous because anyone who comes to Lord for any purpose is called Mahatma. Mataji, ये हो गया ना? Can you go a bit down, Mataji? ये see Mataji, wait a second. 7.19 ना देख रही हूँ. माताजी it is important इसलिए हाँ माताजी पापा ट्रीट करना ना ठीक है माताजी करती हूँ The living entity while executing devotional service or transcendental rituals after many births may actually become situated in transcendental pure knowledge that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is ultimate goal of spiritual realization. In the beginning of spiritual realization, while one is Mataji, can you scroll down? You had read 7.18. हाँ 19 important है माताजी, I saw it now. कहाँ से पढ़ना है माताजी? बहुनाम जन्मनामन्ते. ओके माताजी. बहुनाम जन्मनामन्ते ज्ञानवान् मां प्रपद्यते वासुदेवः सर्वमिति स महात्मा सुदुर्लभः. After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. The living entity, while executing devotional service or transcendental rituals after many births, may actually become situated in transcendental pure knowledge that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is ultimate goal of spiritual realization. In the beginning of spiritual realization, while one is trying to give up one's attachment to materialism, there is some leaning towards impersonalism. But when one is further advanced, he can understand that there are activities in spiritual life and that these activities constitute devotional service. Realizing this, he becomes attached to Supreme Mercy, Supreme Personality of Godhead, and surrenders to Him. At such a time, one can understand that Lord Sri Krishna in mercy is everything, and He is cause of all causes, and that this material manifestation is not independent from Him. He realizes the material world to be a perverted reflection of spiritual variegatedness and realizes that in everything there is a relationship with Supreme Lord Krishna. Thus, he thinks of everything in relation to Vasudeva or Sri Krishna. Such universal vision of Vasudeva precipitates one's full surrender to Supreme Lord Sri Krishna as highest goal. Such surrendered great souls are very rare. This verse very nicely explained in third chapter of Shvetashvara Upanishad. In this body, there are powers of speaking, seeing, hearing, mental activities, etc. But these are not important if not related to Supreme Lord, the Supreme Lord. And because Vasudeva is all pervading and everything is Vasudeva, the devotee surrenders in full knowledge. Bhagavad-Gita, verse 7.17. Bhagavad-Gita 7.20. Kamaistairhritagnyana prapadyante nyadevataah tam niyamam asthavya prakritya nitya svaya, which means those minds are distorted by material desires surrender unto demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures. Purport: those who are freed from all material contaminations, surrender unto Supreme Lord and engage in His devotional service. As long as material contamination is not completely washed off, they are by nature non devotees. But even those who have material desires and who resort to the Supreme Lord are not so much attracted by external nature because of approaching the right goal. They soon become free. Uh, okay, Mataji, then next shloka रख दीजिए. I will read only important ones. यूयं यं तनं भक्तः श्रद्धयार्चितुमिच्छति तस्याचलां श्रद्धां तमेव विद्यधाम्यहम्, which means I am in everyone's heart as the super soul. As soon as one desires to worship the demigods, I make his faith steady so that he can devote himself to some particular deity. God is given, the demigods, Bhagavad-Gita chapter 7 verse 22. Sataya shraddhaya yuktas tasya radhanamichyate labhate cha tatah kaman mayaiva vihitan hitan, which means endowed with such faith, he seeks favors of particular demigod and obtains his desires. But in actuality, such benefits are bestowed by me alone. The demigods cannot award benediction. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, verse 23. Antavattu phalam tesham tadbhavati alpamedhasam devan devaya joyanti madbhakta yanti mamapi, which means men of small intelligence worship the demigods, and their fruits are limited and temporary. Those who worship the demigods go to the planets of demigods, but my devotees ultimately reach my supreme planet. Purport: Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, verse 24. Avyaktam vyaktimapannam Mayante mama buddhayah param bhavam ajananto mamavyayam anuttamam, means unintelligent men who know me not think that I have assumed this form and personality. Due to their small intelligence, they do not know my higher nature, which is changeless and supreme. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, verse 25. Naham prakasha sarvasya yogamaya samavritah modhoyam nabhijanati loko mamajamavyayam, which means I am never manifest to the foolish and unintelligent. For them, I am covered by my eternal creative potency, Yogmaya, and so the deluded world knows me not, who am unborn and infallible. Purport: it may be argued that since Krishna was present on this earth and was visible to everyone, then why isn't he manifest to everyone now? But actually, he was not manifest to everyone. When Krishna was present, There were only few people who could understand him to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the assembly of Kurus, when Shishupala spoke against Krishna being elected president of the assembly, Bhishma supported him and proclaimed him to be the supreme god. Similarly, Pandavas and few others knew that he was the supreme, but not everyone. He was not revealed to non devotees and the common men. Therefore, in Gita, Krishna says that, but for the pure devotees, all men consider him to be like themselves. He was manifest only to his devotees as the reservoir of all pleasure, but to others, to unintelligent non devotees, he was covered by his external potency. In the prayers of Kunti, Srimad Bhagavatam, verse 1.8.18, it is said that the Lord is covered by a curtain of Yogamaya, and thus ordinary people cannot understand him. Kunti prays, O my Lord, you are the maintainer of the entire universe. The devotional service to you is the highest religious principle. Therefore, I pray that you will also maintain me. Your transcendental form is covered by the Yogamaya. The Brahma Jyoti is the covering of the internal potency. May you kindly remove this glowing effulgence uh, that impedes my seeing your Satchidananda Vigraha, your eternal form of bliss and knowledge. This Yogamaya curtain is also mentioned in 15th chapter of Gita. Supreme, the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his transcendental form of bliss and knowledge is covered by eternal potency of Brahma Jyoti, and the less intelligent impersonalists cannot see Supreme on this account. Also in Srimad Bhagavatam, verse 10.14.7, there is prayer by Lord Brahma. O Supreme Personality of Godhead, O Super Soul, O Master of all mystery, who can calculate your potency and pastimes in the world? You are always expanding your external potency, and therefore no one can understand you. Learned scientists and learned scholars can examine the atomic constitution of material world or even the planets, but still they are unable to calculate your energy and potency, although you are present before them. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, is not only unborn, but he is avyaya, inexhaustible. His external form is bliss and knowledge, and his energies are all inexhaustible. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, verse 26. वेदाहं समतीतानि वर्तमानानि चार्जुन भविष्यानि च भूतानि मां tu vedana kaschana, which means, O Arjuna, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I know everything that has happened in the past, all that is happening in the present, and all the things that are yet to come. I also know all living entities, but me, no one knows. Purport. Here, the question of personality and impersonality is clearly stated. If Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is considered by the impersonalists to be Maya, to be material, then he would, like the living entity, change his body and forget everything in his past life. Anyone with material body cannot remember his past life, nor can he foretell his future life, nor can He predicts the outcome of his present life. Therefore, he cannot know what is happening in past, present, and future unless one is liberated from material contamination. He cannot know past, present, and future. Unlike the ordinary human being, Lord Krishna clearly says that he completely knows what happened in the past and what is happening in present and what will happen in future. In the fourth chapter, we have seen that Lord Krishna remembers instructing Vivaswan, the sun god, millions of years ago. Krishna knows every living entity because he is situated in every living being's heart as supreme soul. But despite his presence in every living entity as super soul and his presence beyond material sky as the supreme personality of Godhead, the less intelligent cannot realize him as supreme person. Certainly, the transcendental body of Krishna is not perishable. He is just like the sun, and Maya is like the cloud. In the material world, we can see that there is sun and that there are clouds and different stars and planets. The clouds may cover all these in the sky temporarily, but this covering is only apparent to our limited vision. The sun, moon, stars are not actually covered. Similarly, Maya cannot cover the Supreme Lord. By his internal potency, he. Are Mataji, wait. By his internal potency, he is not manifest to less intelligent class of men. As it is stated in third verse of this chapter, out of millions and millions of men, some try to become perfect in his in this human form of life. And out of thousands and thousands of such perfected men, hardly one can understand that Lord Krishna is. Even if one is perfected by realization of impersonal Brahman or localized Paramatma, he cannot possibly understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, without being in Krishna consciousness. इच्छाद्वेषसमुत्थेन द्वन्द्वमोहेन भारत सर्वभूतानि सम्मोहं सर्गे यान्ति parantapa, which means, O sign of Bharata Arjuna, O conqueror of the foe, all living entities are born into delusion, overcome by the dualities of desire and hate. Purport: the real constitutional position of living entity is that of subordination to the Supreme Lord, who is pure knowledge. When one is deluded into separation from this pure knowledge, he becomes controlled by an illusory energy and cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The illusory energy is manifested in the duality of desire and hate. Due to desire and hate, the ignorant person wants to become one with the Supreme Lord and envies Krishna as Supreme Personality of Godhead. Pure devotees who are not so deluded or contaminated by desire and hate can understand that Lord Sri Krishna appears by his internal potencies. But those who are deluded by duality and nescience think that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is created by material energies. This is their misfortune. Such deluded persons symptomatically dwell in dualities of dishonor and honor, misery and happiness, woman and man, good and bad, pleasure and pain, etc., thinking, this is my wife, this is my house, I am the master of this house, I am husband to this wife, I am husband to this wife. These are the dualities of delusion. Those who are so deluded by dualities are comparatively foolish and therefore cannot understand Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna Mataji, Jai Srila Prabhupada, Jai Gauranga Sundardas Gurudev. I am sorry for all my mistakes. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna Mataji. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna Mataji, am I audible? Okay, Mataji. नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पार्श्वदेश तारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे राम 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 हरे कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे राम 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 हरे कृष्ण हरे राम राम Mataji, I have to start from chapter 7, text 28, no? Text 7.28. येषां त्वा अनन्तगतं पापं जनानां पुण्यकर्मणां ते द्वन्द्वमोहनिर्मुक्ता भजन्ते मां व्रतव्रताः. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, whose sinful actions are completely eradicated, and who are freed from the duality of delusion, engage themselves in my service with determination. Purport. Those eligible for elevation to the transcendental position are mentioned in this verse. For those who are sinful, atheistic, foolish, and deceitful, it is very difficult to transcend the duality of desire and hate. Only those who have passed their lives in practicing the regulative principles of religion, who have acted piously and have conquered sinful reactions, can accept devotional service and gradually rise to the pure knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then, gradually, they can meditate in trance on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the process of being situated on the spiritual platform. This elevation is possible in Krishna consciousness in the association of pure devotees who can deliver one from delusion. It is stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam that if one actually wants to be liberated, he must render service to the devotees. But one who associates with materialistic people is on the path leading to the darkest region of existence. All the devotees of the Lord traverse this earth just to recover the conditioned souls from their delusion. The impersonalists do not know that forgetting their constitutional position as subordinate to the Supreme Lord is the greatest violation of God's law. Unless one is reinstated on his own constitutional position, it is not possible to understand the Supreme Personality or to be fully engaged in his transcendental loving service with determination. Text 7.29. जरा मर, मर sorry जरामरण मोक्षाय माम् आश्रित यतन्ति ये ते ब्रह्म तद्विदु दृष्टम् अध्यात्मम् कर्म चकिलाम्. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Intelligent persons who are endeavoring for liberation from old age and death take refuge in me in devotional service. They are actually Brahman because they entirely know everything about transcendental sorry and fruitive activities. Text 30. सद्धिभूताधिदैवयं मां सधियज्ञं च ये विदुः प्रयाणकालेऽपि च मां ते विदुर्युक्तचेतसा. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Those who know me as the Supreme Lord, as the governing principle of the material manifestation,
who know me as the one underlying all the demigods and as the one sustaining all sacrifices, can with steadfast mind understand and know me even at the time of death. Chapter 8, Attaining the Supreme. Text 1. Arjun Uvacha. Kim tad brahma kim adhyatmam kim karma purushottama adhibhutam cha kim proktam adhidaivyam kim uchyate. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Arjuna inquired, O my Lord, O Supreme Person, what is Brahman? What is the Self? What are fruitive activities? What is this material manifestation? And what are the demigods? Please explain this to me. Text 8.2 Adhyajna katham putra देहेऽस्मिन् मधुसूदन प्रयाण काले च कथां ज्ञेयोऽसि नियतमभिः. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. How does this Lord of Sacrifice live in the body? And in which part does he live? O Madhusudana, and how can those engaged in devotional service know you at the time of death? Text 8.3 Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Aksharam Brahma Paramam Swabhavodhyayam Uchyate Bhuta Bhayo Bhayodya Bhava Karu Visagraha Karma Sanjnitaha. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. The Supreme Lord said, the indestructible, transcendental living entity is called Brahman, and his eternal nature is called the Self. Action pertaining to the development of these material bodies is called karma or fruitive activities. Text 8.4 Adhibhutam क्षरो भावः पुरुषः शैद्यैवत्यं वतम् अधियाज्ञोऽहम् इवत्र देहे देहाव्रतं वरा. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Physical nature is known to be endlessly mutable. The universe is the cosmic form of the Supreme Lord, and I am that Lord, represented as the Supersoul, dwelling in the heart of every embodied being. Text 8.5 Antakale cha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram yah prayati sa madbhavam yatinaisti atra samsayah. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. And whoever at the time of death quits his body, remembering me alone, at once attains my nature. Of this there is no doubt. Purport. In this verse, the importance of Krishna consciousness is stressed. Anyone who quits his body in Krishna consciousness is at once transferred to the transcendental abode of the Supreme Lord. The word smaran, remembering, is important. Remembrance of Krishna is not possible for the impure soul who has not practiced Krishna consciousness in devotional service. To remember Krishna, one should chant the Mahamantra Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Instantly following in the footsteps of Lord Chaitanya, being more tolerant than the tree, humbler than the grass, and offering all respect to others without requiring respect in return. In such a way, one will be able to depart from the body successfully, remembering Krishna, and so attain the supreme goal.
Text 8.6. Yam yam vapi smaranam bhavam त्याज्यते अन्ते कलेवरं तं तं इवैति कौन्तेय सदा तद्भावभाविताः. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, that state he will attain without fail. Purport: the process of changing one's nature at the critical moment of death is here explained. How can one die in the proper state of mind? Maharaj Bharat thought of a deer at the time of death and so was transferred to that form of life. However, as a deer, Maharaj Bharat could remember his past activities. Of course, the cumulative effect of the thoughts and actions of one's life influences one's thought at the moment of death. Therefore, the actions of this life determine one's future state of being. If one is transcendently absorbed in Krishna's service, then his next body will be transcendental, spiritual, not physical. Therefore, the chanting of Hare Krishna is the best process for successfully changing one's state of being to transcendental life. Text 8.7. तस्मत् सर्वेषु फलेषु मम अनुस्मर युद्धया च मयि अर्पित मनोबुद्धिर् मम इवैष्यसि असंशयाः. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Therefore, Arjuna, you should always think of me in the form of Krishna and at the same time carry out your prescribed duty of fighting. With your activities dedicated to me and your time and intelligence and your mind and intelligence fixed on me, you will attain me without doubt. Purport. This instruction to Arjuna is very important for all men engaged in material activities. The Lord does not say that one should give up his prescribed duties or engagements. One can continue them and at the same time think of Krishna by chanting Hare Krishna. This will free one from material contamination and engage the mind and intelligence in Krishna. By chanting Krishna's name, one will be transferred to the supreme planet Krishnaloka without a doubt. Text 8.8. अभ्यासयोगयुक्तेन चेतसा नन्यगमिना परमं पुरुषं दिव्यं यति पार्थानुचितयम्. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. He who meditates on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his mind constantly engaged in remembering me, uh, undeviated from the path, he, O Parth, Arjuna, is sure to reach me. Text 8.9. Kavim Puranam Anushashitaram Anuyam Sam अनुस्मरेदियः सर्वस्य धातरम् अचिन्त्यरूपम् आदित्यवर्णं तमसः परष्टत्. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. One should meditate upon the Supreme Person as the one who knows everything, as He who is the oldest, who is the controller, who is smaller than the smallest, who is the maintainer of everything, who is beyond all material conception, who is inconceivable, and who is always a person. He is luminous like the sun, and being transcendental is beyond this material nature. Text 8.10. प्रयाणकाले मनश्चलेन भक्त्या युक्तो योगबलेन चैव
भ्रूयोर्मध्ये प्रणम् अविश्य सम्यक् सातं परम purusham upayati divyam. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. One who, at the time of death, fixes his life air between the eyebrows and in full devotion engages himself in remembering the Supreme Lord will certainly attain to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Text 8.11. यत् अक्षरं वेदविदो वदन्ति विशन्ति यत् यतायो विरगः यत् इक्षन्तो ब्रह्मचरं चरन्ति तत्ते पदं संग्रहेण प्रवक्ष्ये. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Persons learned in the Vedas who utter Omkar and who are great sages in the renounced order enter into Brahman. Desiring such perfection, one practices celibacy. I shall now explain to you this process by which one may attain salvation. Text 8.12. सर्वद्वैरन्य संयम्य मनोहृदि निरुद्धया च मूर्धनि अधायत्मनः प्रणम् अशितो योगधारणम्. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. The yogic situation is that of detachment from all sensual engagements, closing all the doors of the senses and fixing the mind on the heart and the life air at the top of the head, one establishes himself in yoga. Text 8.13. One second, Mataji. Text 8.13. Om itaksharam brahma vyaharanyam anushmaran vyatayanti tyajam deham sayati paramam gatam. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. After being situated in this yoga practice and vibrating the sacred syllable Om, the supreme combination of letters, if one thinks of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and puts his body, he will certainly reach the spiritual planet. Text 8.14. अनन्यचेतः सततं यो मां स्मरन्ति नित्यसा तस्याहं सुलभा पार्थ नित्ययुक्तस्य योगिनः. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. For one who remembers me without deviation, I am easy to obtain. O son of Pritha, because of his constant engagement in devotional service. Purport. In this verse, the Bhakti Yoga of the unalloyed devotees of the Supreme Godhead is described. The preceding verse mentioned four different kinds of devotees: the distressed, the inquisitive, those who seek material gain, and the speculative philosophers. Different processes of liberation from material entanglement have also been described: Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Hatha Yoga. But here, Bhakti Yoga, without any mixture of these, is mentioned. In Bhakti Yoga, the devotees desire nothing but Krishna. The pure Bhakti devotee does not desire promotion to heavenly planets, nor does he seek salvation or liberation from material entanglement. A pure devotee does not desire anything. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the pure devotee is called Nishkama, which means he has no desire for self interest. Perfect peace belongs to him alone, not to them who strive for personal gain. The pure devotee only wants to please the Supreme Lord, and so the Lord says that for anyone who is unflinchingly devoted to him, he is easy to attain. The devotee can render service to any of the transcendental forms of the Supreme Lord, and he meets with none of the problems that plague the practitioners of other yogas. Bhakti yoga is very simple and pure and easy to perform. One can begin by simply chanting Hare Krishna. Krishna is very merciful to those who engage in his service, and he helps in various ways that devotee who is fully surrendered to him so he can understand him as he is. The Lord gives such a devotee sufficient intelligence so that ultimately the devotee can attain him in his spiritual kingdom. The special qualification of the pure devotee is that he is always thinking of Krishna without considering the time or place. There should be no impediments. He should be able to carry out his service anywhere and at any time. Some say that the devotee should remain in holy places like Vrindavan or some holy town where the Lord lived. But a pure devotee can live anywhere and create the atmosphere of Vrindavan by his devotional service. It was Sri Advaita who told Lord Chaitanya, "Wherever you are, O Lord, there is Vrindavan." A pure devotee constantly remembers Krishna and meditates upon him. These are qualifications of the pure devotee for whom the Lord is most easily attainable. Bhakti Yoga is the system that the Gita recommends above all others. Generally, the Bhakti yogis are engaged in five different ways. Shanta Bhakta, engaged in devotional service, in neutrality. Dasya Bhakta, engaged in devotional service as servant. Sakhya Bhakta, engaged as friend. Vatsalya Bhakta, engaged as parent. And Madhurya Bhakta, engaged as conjugal lover of the Supreme Lord. In any of these ways, the pure devotee is always constantly engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Supreme Lord and cannot forget the Supreme Lord. And so far for him, the Lord is easily attained. A pure devotee cannot forget the Supreme Lord for a moment, and similarly, the Supreme Lord cannot forget his pure devotee for a moment. This is the great blessing of the Krishna conscious process of chanting the Mahamantra. Hare Krishna. Text 8.15 माम् उपेत्य पुनर्जन्म दुःखालयम् अशाश्वतम् नाप्नुवन्ति महात्मनः संसिद्धिं परमं गताः. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. After attaining him, the great souls, sorry, after attaining it, the great souls who are yogis in devotion never return to this temporary world which is full of miseries because they have attained the highest perfection. Purport. Since this temporary material world is full of the miseries of birth, old age, disease, and death, naturally, he who achieves the highest perfection and attains the supreme planet, Krishna Loka, Goloka Vrindavan, does not wish to return. The supreme planet is described in Vedic literature as beyond our material vision, and it is considered the highest goal. The Mahatmas, great souls, receive transcendental messages from the realized devotees and thus gradually develop devotional service in Krishna consciousness and become so absorbed in transcendental service that they no longer desire e- elevation to any of the material planets, nor do they even want to be transferred to any spiritual planet. They only want Krishna's association and nothing else. Such great souls in Krishna consciousness attain the highest perfection of life. In other words, they are the supreme souls. Text 8.16 अब्रह्मभुवनलोकः पुनरवर्तिनोऽर्जुन माम् उपेत्य तु कौन्तेय पुनर्जन्म च विद्यते. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. From the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest, all are places of misery, wherein repeated birth and death take place. But one who attains to my abode, O son of Kunti, never takes birth again. Purport. All kinds of yogis, karma, jnana, hatha, etc., eventually have to attain devotional perfection in bhakti yoga or Krishna consciousness before they can go to Krishna's transcendental abode and never return. Those who attain the highest material planets or the planets of the demigods are again subjected to repeated birth and death. As persons on earth are elevated to higher planets, people in higher planets such as Brahmaloka, Chandraloka, and Indraloka fall down to earth. The practice of sacrifice, called Panchagni Vidya, recommended in the Katha Upanishad, enables one to achieve Brahmaloka. But if in Brahmaloka one does not cultivate Krishna consciousness, then he must return to earth. Those who progress in Krishna consciousness in the higher planets are gradually elevated to higher and higher planets, and at the time of universal devastation are transferred to the eternal spiritual kingdom. When there is devastation of this material universe, Brahma and his devotees, who are constantly engaged in Krishna consciousness, are all transferred to the spiritual universe and to specific spiritual planets according to their desires. Text 8.17 सहस्रयुगपर्यन्तम् आहार्यद्ब्रह्मणो विदुः रात्रिं युगसहस्रान्तं देवोरत्र विदो जनाः. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. By human calculation, 1,000 ages taken together is the duration of Brahma's one day, and such also is the duration of his life. Text 8.18 अव्यक्तद् व्यक्तयः सर्वः प्रभावन्ति आहार आगमे रात्रि आगमे प्रलीयन्ते तत्रैव च संजनते. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. When Brahma's day is manifest, this multitude of living entities comes into being, and at the arrival of Brahma's night, they are all annihilated. Text 8.19 भूतग्रामः च इवायं भूत्वा भूत्वा प्रलीयते रत्रि आगमे वस पार्थ प्रभवति ahar agame. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Again and again the day comes and this host of beings is active, and again the night falls, O Partha, and they are helplessly dissolved. Text 8.20 Parastasmatu bhavonyo व्यक्तो व्यक्तः सनातनः व्यासा सर्वेषु भूतेषु नश्यत् नाश्यस्तु न विनाशन्ति. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Yet there is another nature which is ephemeral and is transcendental to this manifested and unmanifested matter. It is supreme and is never annihilated. When all in this world is annihilated, that part remains as it is. Text 8.21 अव्यक्तो कृष्णा इति उक्तस्तम् औ परमं गतं यम् प्राप्य च निवर्तन्ते तद्धाम परमं मम. Translation by His Grace इसी भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी श्रीला प्रभुपाद जय श्रीला प्रभुपाद. That supreme abode is called unmanifested and infallible, and it is the supreme destination. When one goes there, he never comes back. That is my supreme abode. Text 8.22. Purusha sa para partha bhaktya labhyastu ananyaya यस्यन्ता स्थानि भूतानि येन सर्वम् इदं ततं. Translation by Glories is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is greater than all, is attainable by unalloyed devotion. Although he is present in his abode, he is all pervading and everything is situated within him. Text 8.23. यत्र काले अनावृतम् आवृतिं चैव योगिनः प्रयातायन्ति फलं वक्ष्यामि भरतस्अभा. Translation by His Grace इसी भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी श्रीला प्रभुपाद जय श्रीला प्रभुपाद. O best of the Bharatas, I shall now explain to you the different times at which passing away from this world one does or does not come back. Text 8.24. Agnir Jyotir Aha Shuklaha Sanmasa Uttarayanam Tatra Rayata Gachanti Brahma Brahma Vidu Jana. Translation by His Divine Grace इसी भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी श्रीला प्रभुपाद जय श्रीला प्रभुपाद. Those who know the Supreme Brahman pass away from the world during the influence of the fiery god in the light at an auspicious moment during the fortnight of the moon and the 6 months when the sun travels in the north. Text 8.25. धूमो रात्रि तथा कृष्ण सन्मास दक्षिणायनम तत्र चंद्रामसं ज्योतिर्योगी प्राप्य निवर्तते. Translation by His Divine Grace इसी भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी श्रीला प्रभुपाद जय श्रीला प्रभुपाद. The mystic who passes away from this world during the smoke, the night, the moonlight fortnight, or in the 6 months when the sun passes to the south, or who reaches the moon planet again comes back. Text 8.26. Shukla Krishna Gati iti Jagatah Sashwati Mati Ekaya Yakti Anavatam Anyaya Vartati Punaha. Translation by His Divine Grace इसी भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी श्रीला प्रभुपाद जय श्रीला प्रभुपाद. According to the Vedas, there are two ways of passing from this world. One is light and one is darkness. When one passes in light, he does not come back, but when one passes in darkness, he returns. Text 8.27. Naiti Shruti Pratha Janan Yogi Moyati Kasyacha Tasmat Sarveshu Kaleshu Yoga Yukto Bhavarjuna. Translation by His Divine Grace इसी भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी श्रीला प्रभुपाद जय श्रीला प्रभुपाद. The devotees who know these two paths, O Arjuna, are never bewildered. Therefore, be always fixed in devotion. Text 8.28. Vedeshu yagneshu tapashu chaiva daneshu yat punya phalam pradishtam atyeti tat sarvam idam viditva yogi param sthanam upaiti shadyam. Translation by His Divine Grace, E.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. A person who accepts the path of devotional service is not bereft of the results derived from studying the Vedas, performing austere sacrifices, giving charity, or pursuing philosophical and fruitive activities. At the end, he reaches the supreme abode, purport. This verse is the summation of the seventh and eighth chapters, particularly as the chapters deal with Krishna consciousness and devotional service. One has to study the Vedas under the guidance of the spiritual master and undergo many austerities and penances while living under his care. A brahmachari has to live in the home of the spiritual master just like a servant, and he must beg alms from door to door and bring them to the spiritual master. He takes food only under the master's order, and if the master neglects to call the student for food that day, the student fasts. These are some of the Vedic principles for observing brahmacharya. After the student studies the Vedas under the master for a period from 5 to 20 years, he may become a man of perfect character. Study of the Vedas is not meant for the recreation of armchair speculators, but for the formation of character. After this training, the brahmachari is allowed to enter into household life and marry. When he is a householder, he also has to perform many sacrifices and strive for further enlightenment. Then, after retiring from household life, upon accepting the order of Vanaprastha, he undergoes he undergoes severe penances, such as living in forests, dressing with tree bark, not shaving, etc.